Good morning. I'm Bruce Garrioch. Pleased to be joined today on my Senators one-on-one by former NHL goalie and Buffalo Sabres analyst Martin Biron. Marty, as we speak today, the Sabres are coming off probably the most exciting game this season. An 8-7 victory over the Tampa Bay Lightning. It had everything. It had fights, it had goals, and it had a dramatic finish, including a comeback.
Yeah, no, that was pretty wild. I mean, they were up 3-0 and 4-1, and with all the fights and the fans going nuts, and then all of a sudden after 2 periods, it's 4-4. I said it on the broadcast last night, and it's kind of funny because sometimes we share too much. I personally feel like I am an open book, but there's certain things you don't want to share. And I'm like, you know what? This may be too much information, but at the start of the third period, I took a bathroom break, and I'm in the bathroom, and they have the TV and the sound on, and Tampa scores early on to the third period to make it 5-4. And the guy next to me, he's like, come on. Like, he's all mad. And I looked over and I said, there's plenty more goals in that game. Like, this is not going to end 5-4. And I said, I don't know if I believed it, but I wanted him to go back and be able to enjoy the rest of the game. Like, this went from... Like, at one point, the Tampa Bay Lightning outscored the Sabres 6-1. Like, it was 4-1, and all of a sudden, it's 7-5 for Tampa. So they had scored 6 to the Sabres 1. But you're right, like the fighting, and when we talk about the fighting, it was Hagel, it was, Dahlin, it was those guys that were getting into it too. It wasn't just, let's get the fourth line to fight. So that was the craziest game, I believe, in probably 19 years since I decided to fight Ray Emery in Buffalo. That was about as crazy as that one.
The only thing missing was Lindy Ruff and John Cooper going at it, right?
Yeah, that would have been, back in the days, like when Lindy and Brian Murray went at it, like that. But Rob Ray was still in between the benches for that one and for this one too.
I got to ask you, though, how good does it? I know, being in Ottawa, how good last year felt when the Senators made the playoffs. And look, the Buffalo Sabres aren't there yet. There's still 20 games to go. But how good does it feel for the people in Buffalo that the Sabres are in this position at this point of the season? So
it's kind of funny because, the Buffalo Bills have been... Bills Mafia, Josh Allen. Yep. It has been crazy. They went through a long, long playoff drought, and they are one of the best teams in the National Football League. But we had a few of the Bills players on our broadcast this year, and Joe Andreessen, who is a Buffalo kid, plays middle linebacker with the Bills. He came on our show and he said, Buffalo's a hockey town. I know the Bills are number one right now in the way that the fans are supporting, but Buffalo is a hockey town. And I was here, through through both droughts, really, like as an analyst, but also as a Bills fan. And the way that the fans reacted last night and the way that the fans have been at games, the last few games, or even up around town, is totally different than when the Bills got good again. Like, the passion for hockey and the passion for the Sabres, it could be a few notches on top of but it's also so different. Like, the Bills play 8 home games, right? That's it. The Sabres play 41. The fans are much more maybe involved or in that relationship with the Sabres when they're good or bad, because it's every other night and it's like, you're being reminded all the time compared to once a week. And I think that's probably why right now, like, they have a 5-game homestand where, they had the game against Nashville Saturday, the game against Tampa Sunday. They got Macklin Celebrini and the San Jose Sharks coming in. They got Toronto next Saturday. Like, the fans are so excited about it. And it's to another level. So that's why it is so fun. And it's, the snow's melting. It's sunny outside. Like, there's that too. Like, everybody's getting out of their winter, like, hibernation, and then boom, that's happening at the same time.
One of the things that we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about is the trade deadline. And the deadline was a bit of a deadline, I think, is one way to put it. It didn't. But Buffalo tried to get Colton Parayko. Mm-hmm. I think the Senators were in the mix for some defensemen who probably weren't willing to waive their no-move clauses to come here. How did you feel about let's start with what did you think happened? What happened with Parayko and what didn't happen on Friday around the National Hockey League?
So it's kind of funny because our friend Darren Dreger, obviously an insider at TSN, and I work with him a lot, and he's the first one that reported Parayko to Buffalo, and and he put up Radim Murtka's name out there in the first round pick out there, and so, but I believe that I don't want to say all parties because I really don't know if they had any information, but that because of the way the Sabres are going, and because of the impact that Parayko could have had on Buffalo and the way St. Louis is heading, that this was going to be like, oh yeah, absolutely, right? Like Parayko is
that's how I felt.
Western Canadian, like Alberta boy, and Edmonton to Toronto, a flight for family, and then a quick hour drive to Buffalo is easy. Like it felt like all the fingers were pointing towards he would do it. But I also understand, like I listened to Pat Maroon talking about it on a podcast, and he was like, he's Mr. St. Louis. Like he is in the hospital, he's in the community, he's with the local fans, and he's got 4 more years left on his deal. So I get that.
And he's dating the Emo's Pizza, and he's dating the
I know. That was the thing. Like I'm like,
that was so funny. Anyway, sorry.
It's really funny, but I get that when you're in the community like that, and if you had a year left to your deal, maybe you say, oh yeah, 1 year, that'll be fun. But he signed a long-term deal, and he has 4 more years. You're talking about 4 years of your life here. So I totally get that. Now, you mentioned the trade deadline was a bit of a dud. Yeah, and there's 293 NHL players that have some sort of trade protection. That's 1/3 of the NHL. Like, that's a lot of players. And I think that more than any other trade deadline has come into play because there's a lot of players now that control where they want to go. That Corey Perry said, I'm not going anywhere the day before, and the next day he's being traded because it's Tampa, right? Like, so there is that comes into play. But when it comes to Parayko, that's fine. Like, I think that Jarmo Kekalainen was willing to wait, but to a certain extent, because then he had to flip around and he ended up making a few deals with the Winnipeg Jets.
I look at the Atlantic Division right now, and you look at the Boston Bruins and the Detroit Red Wings, and the Senators are making a hard push here.
Yep.
Do you see, everybody talks, Marty, about Ottawa being the team that people think can get in out of all of the teams, but Columbus is right there too. Like, how I guess because we're Ottawa based, how difficult is it for the Senators? You're 5 points out as you and I speak.
That's my cutoff. Like, I got Columbus and Ottawa. And then after that, I say, a little too far back. Like Washington, I feel a little too far back. Plus, Washington's played more games than anybody else. The thing with the Ottawa Senators for me, and why I believe that they can do it, is I love that team. I think they're a really good team. I think they're a really good team that got really bad goaltending for a long time. And even at the start of the year, Linus Ullmark was not playing well, but at least the results were there. He had a winning record, but the numbers were atrocious. And then Levi Merrillainen comes in, and it's gotten like from bad to worse. But I do believe that since Ullmark has been back, that we're seeing a different team on the ice. They're confident in their goaltender to get the job done. The numbers are still average at best, but that one save that you need at some point in the game. But I look at that team, I look at the way their lines are set. Now, you've had to elevate some players at times, like Claude Giroux's played top line, and then is he better suited as a third line guy? Maybe. But he can do it on a short, in 1 week, you play 2-3 games, you have him up there, you play him a lot of minutes. And their defense, despite the fact they give up some chances, they can skate and they can move and they can help transition. They can score. So I think Ottawa, at the end of the day, like, is a team that should be in the conversation. If they didn't have, the bad goaltending, and then unfortunately for them, Ullmark having the leave of absence and not playing for a long time, like, that affected them. But they are, if you were to look at just the teams, Ottawa to me is better than Boston. Ottawa to me is better than Pittsburgh. Ottawa to me is better than the New York Islanders. Like, I feel like they're better than a lot of teams. They just had a part of the season that they really had a hard time with.
One of the things I have to ask you as we speak today, Jake Sanderson left Saturday's 7-4 victory over Seattle with what appeared to be a right shoulder injury. It took a hard into the glass and the boards from Brandon Montour midway through the game. There has been no update, but my understanding is he's been sent for further testing. He's either coming back to Ottawa or the team's in Vancouver today.
Mm-hmm.
Would any loss of Jake Sanderson for any length of time, how does that affect this team?
Man, he's their stud, right? So I think it affects their team in how you have your minutes when it comes to, the defense and your group of six, your offense, your power play, like everything. I think that would be a big loss. But I will say, that team is good. That team can probably, still go and win three out of four. And then you go out and you win 3 out of 4, and maybe you get on a little bit of a streak. They can still get that done without Jake Sanderson, in my opinion. So, is this less than optimal? Yeah. But Detroit also lost Dylan Larkin, and then Detroit turns around and, they have a big win on Sunday. So, there is some injuries around the league. You're just hoping that the rest of the team can pick it up at this time of year.
Just last question, Marty. At some point, are we going to talk about the Buffalo Sabres and the Ottawa Senators in the and probably the Montreal? I should probably include the Montreal Canadiens in that group because they're coming too. Boy, we haven't even mentioned them. Are we going to talk about them as kind of these three teams as the Atlantic Division powerhouses? Do you maybe see a day where they unseed Tampa, or is that?
Yeah, I do.
Am I looking at too much with rose-colored?
Yeah, Tampa has Kucherov. I mean, the guy, he had 3 points yesterday, and it's like, oh my God, like, he had 4 the night before. It's like he's probably on the level with Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon right now. And they have Vasilevsky, who's been one of the best goalie in the league. And I get that. So you still have to take him from the top seed and then throw him down. And right now, teams are trying to get there. But I look at those 3 teams, and I love it because for years I was in that division. Like, we played Ottawa 8 times coming out of the 04-05 lockout, and we played Montreal 8 times, and the battles were real. But I look at those 3 teams, and I do think that Buffalo and Ottawa are a little bit ahead of Montreal in the way. Like, I look at Montreal's roster, and they got a great top line. But I'm like, where's the depth? Like, what's going on? And they somehow find ways to win, and crazy wins at that, and the way they come back in games. And they haven't had the goaltending, and I don't know if it's going to get better this year, but whatever. Like, but if you look at roster-wise and moving forward, I think that those 3 would be better than Tampa in a couple of years. Toronto, Florida. I mean, no Barkov this year hurt, but is Florida going to start to slow down a little bit, get older as well, while other younger teams are coming in? So if you have the 8 teams in the Atlantic Division, Detroit is fun. Detroit is good. But I think that Montreal, Ottawa, Buffalo is heading for we're going to take that division for the next few years.
Right. Well, listen, Marty, we really appreciate your time, and thanks for joining us. And it's great to see the Sabres really pushing for a playoff spot here. I think it would mean so much to that city too.
It would mean a lot, and I would love to see the Ottawa-Buffalo playoff rivalry being renewed. Like, we go back to, Yashin, Pekka, and obviously the Spezza and everybody else, like Drury Briere. Like, I would love that to happen. So let's get it done.
Great. Thanks. For Post Media in Ottawa, thank you for your time. Martin Biron, former NHL goalie and Sabres analyst. I'm Bruce Garrioch for Sens 101.